Good morning. It's Sunday, June 21st, 2026. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to talk about martial arts, philosophy, and some of the things that we want to learn that are connected with and tightly integrated with what we're doing in our practice, but aren't practice so much as how we approach practice, how we think about what we're doing. This series is focused on the idea of shin, heart, and the connection to how we feel about things, how we pay attention to what we want, that sense of desire, the not so much emotional feelings, but what goes behind those emotions. In some translations, heart is translated as the heart mind. It is not the thought mind. Ye differences in the concepts make a huge difference for how we think about things, how we approach a topic, um, how we learn. The concepts that we have in Western philosophy, in I'm going to say U.S. culture generally, and in several specific areas, is not the same. It's not the same as Chinese culture. It's not. The wall behind me is some paintings and my trophies, certificates, and things. The paintings are from Suzhou. I found them in an art shop in 1995. They depict the four seasons. I'm sitting in front of spring and summer. Fall and winter are on the other side. And that combination, that order that things occur, is part of what I want to talk about today. So I could put those paintings up in any order that I choose, and the average person would look at them and say, yeah, okay, that's nice. Those are pretty. Um, and actually, I've got that backwards. I'm sitting in front of fall and winter, and you're looking at spring and summer. Spring has a little bit of pink in it over there. All and over there. That one right there. I got it. That's spring. It's this one. I got to work on my direction on this. This is summer. The one with the little bit of tan in it is fall, and the one that there it is. Okay, so fall and winter. Each of the scenes is the same but different. The artist used the same scenes and offset them a little bit as we see the changes in the seasons. That representation is in order: spring, summer, winter, fall. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Sorry. Sorry about that. Um, the arrangement could be winter, spring, summer, fall. How we think about that arrangement matters. Matters for our perception. It matters for how we approach what we're doing, how we consider what time of year it is. Is it a holiday time of year? Is it a resting time of year? Is it harvesting time of year? Is it a planting time of year? Those things all change and are different depending on where we are. They all change. That sense of change is, again, this is philosophy class, right? So that sense of change is part of what I'm talking about this morning. That things change. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It comes in cycles. Sometimes we pay attention to those cycles. We pay attention to the time of year. We do. Pretty much everybody celebrates a new year coming, the old year going and the new year coming. Depends on what culture, what year we're talking about. We do have those celebrations, and they are different. Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year, is different every year. We don't, in the United States, unless you're part of a culture that is engaged with that cycle, the lunar cycle. So you would celebrate Lunar New Year. If you're not, you're going to celebrate the calendar year. It's December 31st, and now it's January 1st, and it's the new year. We do that, and we do that as a culture. We do that as human beings. We mark time. We want to mark time. It's part of who we are. We want to grow. We want to develop, and that growth and development is a big part of what I talk about a lot in class. That as we are practicing, as we are working on whatever art it is that we're working on that particular day, we engage in development. It's not all of a sudden I know this and now I can do it. We have to develop those skills. In developing the mind, we have to practice that too. Developing the heart, we have to practice that too. The idea of change, I've had a change of heart, I've changed my mind, is different than I've had a change of heart. Both indicate I've changed something, but my change of mind, I don't want to do this now. I've changed my heart because it's something I don't want to do. I've changed the way that I perceive this, the way that I think about it. Well, that may change the way I feel about it. Might not. Don't know. They're different. They're different. When we separate the idea of how we think about something from how we feel about something, we can begin to quiet either one. If I'm thinking about something, right? Let's say I'm thinking about yard work I need to do. I really have let some things go and I'd like to get out there and get it done. I think about that in all sorts of ways. I've been working on some stories, readings, and I needed to remaster the audio before I can publish it, and it's taken me a lot longer than I wanted. I need to get it done. I want to get it done. I need to get it done because I decided that it's something that is important to me and it's something I want to do. It's something I can do. And I'm going to do it. That thought process, I want to do this, I can do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to practice, I'm going to develop the skills. Excuse me. I'm going almost better. I'm going to develop the skills I need to clear my throat without doing that. I can. There are small muscles in the throat that can be used to move any saliva, phlegm, whatever it is that's clogging the throat. Those small muscles can be used to clear the throat and use the voice without that obstruction. It doesn't always work. Tension, like in Tai Chi, like in Qigong, like in all of the internal arts, tension is not our friend. It's not. And that understanding that part of, and I'm just going to keep going with a little bit of a burr in my voice for a moment, that recognition, that understanding of how we can work with the body. What part of the body do I need to use in order to get my throat to clear? What do I need to do? What needs to happen? First thing, number one, same thing in practice. Relax. Relax. The more we relax the muscles, the easier it is to use them. The more we pay attention to the natural flow of things, how our body actually works, what kinds of things we can do that will give us better facility, better, and it's not always control, it's better facility. I want to be able to do whatever this is. How can I do that? What do I need to be able to do in order to do this other thing? How do I develop that skill? Because let's go back to that development that I was talking about before I got the burr in my throat. Development. It's practice. It's understanding what we are doing in practice, what we should be doing, what we should not be doing, and how we make those changes so that what we are doing supports what we want to do, not what we don't want. In practice, we have different methods, different skills that we practice. In Tai Chi, for example, we have the idea of ebb and flow, that we move forward, we move backward, we have this continuous flow of movement. We have a similar concept in Bagua, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Bagua in just a second. In Tai Chi, this connection, ebb and flow, moving forward, moving back, shifting and changing. right? As we develop that skill, we develop our reflexes, we develop all sorts of abilities in coordination and in movement through the body. We also develop skills in how we approach that movement. And we also develop skills in how we connect the movement with how we feel, how we use our emotions, how we use that heart mind to contribute to what we're doing. If my feeling is tense, if I'm nervous, my throat will constrict and fill up with phlegm, and it will actually kind of inhibit my speech. It will. It happens. It happened just a little bit ago, too. It did. That, and it started up again. The recognition that what's happening is because I'm constricting the back of my throat. I'm doing it. It's not just, oh, well, I'm actually doing it. And I can not do that. I can. That is a skill that we learn in Tai Chi. It's a skill that we learn in all the internal arts. How to not do can be as important as how to do something. So there we go. I think when I'm going to talk about this for just a second because it's important and it's something that I'm going to mention. When I get nervous and I'm supposed to speak, my throat will constrict, my tongue will get tied up, and I just really don't want to say anything. Can I go over there and just I'll listen for a while, thanks. Well, in this case, I'm supposed to be speaking, so that's a problem, isn't it? Mm-hmm. How do I address that? What am I going to do about it? Same thing as in class, same thing as in practice. I have to relax. I have to recognize that that's what's happening. I have to relax. How do I relax? What needs to change in order for me to relax? First thing that has to change is how I feel about it. How I feel about it. If I start getting anxious, if I start getting nervous, if I allow my emotions to take over, I just won't be able to talk. It won't happen. How can I fix that? How can I control that? I can't. I can't. I have to recognize that that's what's happening. And I have to decide what I'm going to do. What I've decided to do is that I'm going to use the facility that I have with my diaphragm. So drop it way down here. I'm going to use that facility, and I'm going to pay much more attention to allowing the flow of breath to form the words. Not so much thinking about what I have to do with my throat as what I have to do with my diaphragm and what I have to do with my mouth and my tongue. That changes, it changes all sorts of things. It requires a level of relaxation and a level of breath flow and connection. Qigong, that we now use in another way. As I think about how I have to change within, what I'm changing inside, in order to maintain my voice, my demeanor. Oh, no. Right? My demeanor. And how I want to communicate. That all affects what I do. The result. It shows in the result. I mentioned how we pay attention to some of these changes in Tai Chi, that ebb and flow. In Tai Chi push hands, we absolutely pay attention to those changes. We look for the changes in our opponent. We're not paying attention to our eyes so much as how the opponent feels, how we sense. Much more sense. We're not thinking, we're sensing. This is much more the heart-mind idea. How the opponent feels. Is the opponent pushing, pulling, shifting their weight? Is their weight centered? Can I find where their center is so that I can move the opponent off balance? We have the idea in, another one. We have the idea in Tai Chi of 4 ounces can deflect 10,000 pounds. In practice, in practice, we're not talking about actually trying to deflect 10,000 pounds. We're trying, and it wasn't pounds in the original, it was Jin, a different measurement. Actually, Wan Li, half a Jin. It's a different measurement from a different time and a different place. The concept is that a small effort, 4 ounces, can deflect a large effort when it's applied correctly, when it's applied at the right time, with the right amount of force. And it's not a great force. We don't have to use that. That's the point. 4 ounces. It's not you don't have to have great strength to be able to deflect something. You have to have good timing, and you have to know where that change is. You have to know where the center is so that you can move it and move it off balance. And then it will fall down all by itself. That's what Huang Wenlin taught in push hands, is you're not trying to make the opponent fall down. You're there to help them find a way to fall down. I want to help my opponent fall down. How can I do that? It's a much better approach to how we pay attention to what we're doing. And it's a very different concept of heart, isn't it? I'm going to make my opponent fall down. I'm going to help my opponent fall down. I'm going to help my opponent find a way to fall down. Let me help you with that. Very different approach, and it is something that, and I'm going to use the expression, something that I took to heart many, many years ago. It's not about what you want to do to the other person. It's about not allowing the other person to do to you and helping the other person do whatever it is they want to do. Just maybe not in the way that they thought about it, right? That's something that we are actively working in Bagua with the palm changes in Bagua. Well, I'm going this way. No, I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna go this way. No, I'm gonna go this way. I brought my hands up deliberately. Bagua turns. This is Bagua. And as we're changing through the palm changes, we're shifting our weight, we're shifting our center, we're shifting our physical body through space in a way that we don't do in Tai Chi. We develop that skill as part of how we approach what we're doing in the arts. In my case, I said I took to heart the idea that I don't so much want to do something to someone else. I may want to do something. I may have an idea in my mind of what I want to do, and I may have a way of doing that, the way I want to approach it in my mind, in my heart, and in my mind. So today I'm going to be more aggressive in my movement. Today I'm going to be more active in my movement. Today I'm going to be more quiet in my movement. Today my movement should be more peaceful and calm. Today my movement should be more focused on application and paying attention to the underlying applications in whatever I'm doing. All of those things contribute to how I move, to what's going on in the movement. And notes. I make notes. I do. I have lots of notes. You get the notes in class. You can take notes from what I'm teaching if you like. You can wait for me to get the transcription up and it'll be available. It's going to happen. And that is part of the class for today. It's going to happen. There are changes that we go through, and I'm going to talk about this in just a minute a little bit more. There are changes that we go through that are inevitable. It's going to happen. That's my class today. This is going to happen. I'm here. It's happening, right? I decided that it was going to happen. I was late, but I decided, yeah, no, it's going to happen. And here I am. That part of inevitability came with my decision. I'm going to do this. I need to make this happen. I might not have. There was a point where I was thinking, nah, I'm just really tired. I've been working long hours. It was close to midnight when I finally packed it in last night. And so when I got up, the alarm went off at 4:30, and I had to think about some things. So that process that I went through led me to the decision that, yes, I'm going to be here today. And I'm going to teach a lesson about change and about the idea of how we make those changes in connection with what we want. My decision to be here this morning My decision to do some of the things that I'm doing is based on what I want to do. It's based on what I want. I have something that I want to do. I have the skills, I have the ability, I can practice. I need to practice. I can. And as I develop my skills, I am going through changes from a point of knowing less to knowing more, from a point of being less able to being more able, from a point of not knowing as much to knowing more. And I'm that continuous process of change is something that is inevitable. The particulars for the change, those are not inevitable. I can think about history generally. What's happened during history? What kinds of changes have we seen in history? What kinds of changes have I seen in my own history? Where have I been? I was thinking about this before class with this idea of change and paying attention to changes. Where have I been? What have I done? What kinds of changes have I been through? What kinds of changes have I seen? What kinds of patterns do those changes represent? How can I see those changes in advance? How can I predict those changes? Changes, what change? I don't want just changes. Change is going to cause me some fear, some anxiety. I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with I don't know. Not everybody is. It's a learned skill. It's absolutely a learned skill. I learned part of it in my studies in Tai Chi and martial arts because I was learning. I don't know. I want to learn. How can I learn this? What do I need to know? What do I need to understand? How do I develop these skills? All the questions. In my own background, I have software development and programming. I talk to people all the time who would tell me, I want to build this thing. How do you do it? I don't know. I know how to write the code. I know how to write code in several languages. I know what's required for system functions. I know what is required for user functions, user interactions. I know how code actually works. I know what goes on behind the computer, if you will. I know what goes on in the network and how those connections happen. So being able to set up a program that actually works is something that I can do. It's a lot of work sometimes. The same goes for writing the stories that I wrote. I know how the language works. I know what I did with the language. I'm sitting here doing some things with the language now. My body and my body functions. I have learned some things that I knew, but I needed to be reminded of. Practice. Talk about that in practice a lot. New student comes in, they don't know. They have to learn. It's a change. The new student comes in, they want to learn. The first assumption is the student shows up and they ask I would like to learn that. The assumption is they want to learn it. It's not just a thought that they had. It's actually they want to do this. That idea that they want to do this goes behind whatever it is we're doing. I want to help my opponent fall down. I want to help my student stand up. I want to show the student all of the things that I know that the student can then use to stand. Balance, placement, posture, all of those things are the proverbial tip of the iceberg. What has to be there more than any particular movement is the way the movements change, how we get from point A to point B, where the change begins, and what happens before that change starts. Before I do anything, I have to decide that I'm going to do it. I have to be able to do it, or I have to learn how to do it. But before that, I have to have decided that what I'm going to do. In Bagua, I talk about this a little bit more with the idea, and I've got something I'm going to read here in just a minute. Bagua, I talk about this a little bit more because Bagua is at its foundation. Bagua is the change. The palm changes are what we're talking about, not the palm positions. Tai Chi, we talk about the postures. Xing Yi, we talk about the fists. Bagua, we talk about the changes. In the Book of Changes, the I Ching, can't see it here, I Ching, Book of Changes. This is the Wilhelm translation. There are many translations of this book, okay? And the ideas that we use to work with change. In the Book of Changes, there's philosophy and mystical representation. So in the mystical representation, there are the eight lines. Excuse me, the 6 lines. No, 8. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I count funny. I do sometimes. There's in the Bagua, there are 8 directions. So if I draw a picture of a Bagua, there are 8 directions. There are 8 trigrams. In the I Ching, we combine those 8 trigrams into 64 hexagrams that represent an idea, a concept of change. The one I just kind of opened the book to today, and it's connected with what I was talking about. It's not really open the book. I looked for this. Wei Qi, before completion. This hexagram indicates a time when the transition from disorder to order is not yet completed. The change is indeed prepared for, since all the lines in the upper trigram are in relation to those in the lower. However, they are not yet in their places. While the preceding hexagram offers an analogy to autumn, which forms the transition from summer to winter, this hexagram presents a parallel to spring, which leads out of winter's stagnation into the fruitful time of summer. With this hopeful outlook, the Book of Changes comes to its close. We go back to the beginning. That connection is something I feel. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to mention it again because it's here. In all of the work that I've done with the stories that I've written, all of the work that I'm doing with the readings, all of the work that I'm doing with this class, there is a bond. There is a connection to the heart. There is a real world connection through the way that I approach things. There is my own internal connection to how I feel about things. When I find something that is particularly relevant to me, I have a visceral response to it. It's who I am. And that understanding, it's just not fluff and puff. It's understanding who I am. I talk about this in class repeatedly. Understanding who you are, what you know about yourself, who you are, what you will do, what you won't do. All of those are things that I wrote about in the books. It's part of who I am. And when I actually feel that connection, I respond to it. I have an actual emotional response that shows up. I embrace that. I've learned that that is a very powerful thing for me because I can use it. I know what it is. I know how it feels. And I've learned to use it. That is foundation for everything that I teach. You must learn to know yourself. You must know who you are. You must know what you can do. You must know what you can't do. You must know what you want. Because what you want will govern what you can't do. It's more about what you won't do in some ways. As we develop our skills, it's not always about whether or not you can. It's more about what you should or should not do. We understand change at both ends. Most of the time, we don't see it in process. We don't see what comes before the change. We don't see what comes after. We don't see the change. We see the result. We see, I'm here, now I'm here. Everything that came to here, to get here, we're not paying attention to. Everything that has to happen to get to here, we're not paying attention to. And everything that happens next, we're not paying attention to. We're stuck. 1, 2. That process of getting unstuck, that process of learning to recognize change, of learning to be comfortable with change, comes partly from understanding how change happens. It's not that 1-2. It's a process. We develop that skill We develop our ability to see change at its inception. At a time when the transition from disorder to disorder is not yet completed. We're in change. We're in that process of change. Knowing that we're in the process. The result isn't final yet. We're not done yet. We're not finished yet. How do we feel about that? With that understanding, we're not so much afraid of that change anymore. It's going to happen. We don't have to be afraid of it. We can be in it and change the result. Here's the result. Here's where I started. Results over here, starting over here. Okay, start. If I come here, I get this result. Right? If I come here, I get a different result. We use this in Tai Chi push hands. We use this idea a lot. Where do I push? What am I doing? In Qigong practice, we use this idea in circulating the Qi. In Bagua, yeah, I come around behind, no problem. Xingyi is a little more direct, but we still have the idea that in each of the fists, we have the idea that we could change from one to the other without much difficulty at all, because we know how they change. We know the process. I'm going to stop here for today. The idea of having a change of heart. What do I keep in my heart? And the idea that I want to keep what's good. I don't want to keep what's not good. Professor Liu used to tell me that every time I get ready to leave Zhengzhou, he would remind me to 记好好去，不要记不好. Remember what's good. Don't remember the bad. If it was some problem, there was something that was, just because there was always something. Don't dwell on that. Remember that you were here. Remember that we had some very nice dinners with friends, that we had practice, and remember what you learned. 记好好去. Remember well the good. 好去, the things that were positive. When we do that, the same as Huang Weilin taught about helping my opponent fall down, you're not trying to push anybody. You're trying to help them do what they want to do. They want to fall down. You want to help them want to fall down. You can do that if you know where the point of change is. At 4 ounces can deflect 10,000 pounds. Find the point to apply those 4 ounces. That's where the change happens. Thank you.